Hi, I'm Spencer Grendall, and I'm a party psychic. I talk to people and I study their energy fields, and from that study of their energy fields through tarot, palmistry, astrology, I give them insights to what's going to happen down the road for them. Well, I feel like I started really when I was like 4 and a half. I had double pneumonia, and I definitely felt like I'd left my body. I distinctly remember the whole family around me saying, like, "Oh, you're dying. We're so sorry you're dying." I'm coughing and stuff. And the next thing I kind of remember was, this isn't so bad. What is everyone crying about? This seems, all right. So I eventually re-entered my body, and this is kind of strange because then I started really having a lot of, spiritual thoughts about things, and this is a child sitting around with a family and someone is talking about some religious concept like Satan, and I'm mouthing off and having a 4 and a half kid say, "That's not the way it works. That's not the way the devil is." I met this woman at Whitworth College from Lompoc, California. Not Lompoc, Lompoc, that's how they say it there. And we fell in love, as you only can do when you're 19 and 20. So it was time for me to go meet the parents. And so I went down to Lompoc, and her grandmother lived in Santa Barbara. So I've got to go meet the grandmother. So we're getting the grandmother, and there's Grandma Harris, and she looks at me like this, and she goes then she says, "Come to me," and she runs her hand around outside my body. I'm going like, what is happening here? And she says, "You've been sent to me." And I go, what on earth is this? I've been sent to you? Look, I'm just dating your granddaughter. And she says, no, you've been sent to me. And it turns out that this is a woman who was an Edgar Cayceite, and really into past lives, really into, she was diagnosed by Edgar Cayce, and she got, of course, the doctor in Santa Barbara thought she was nutty, but she went and got it on this table, and at the same time Cayce was on a table, in a meditative state, and he diagnosed this problem with her stomach, and it was right. And so she was very much into the whole concept of metaphysics. Plus, she read cards and she read palms. And to the rest of her family, strangely enough, she was our weird old grandma. Isn't she great? But no one really, and I'm sure she tried. But so the next thing I know, she stubbed me Cairo's book of the palmistry and book of the hand is actually what it's called. And she says, "Read this and we'll correspond." And I went with Joan for 2 years. And after those 2 years, and sadly we did not go on to nuptials. I carried on with this grandmother for 12 years until she died. Imagine meeting someone that's 88 years old and you have a 12-year relationship with her, and she dies at 90, and she's still scribbling little letters to you, and you're writing them right back from your little Pica typewriter, or whatever. Very profound experience. And of course, at that time, I started to misuse my gift for seductive purposes. Once Joan was gone, I was like, "Oh, maybe you'd like to have your palm read," So I was kind of using it for kind of entertainment, but I was getting better and better all the time. And it wasn't until I moved to Los Angeles that this whole teaching that I went through with Grandma Harris and the whole kind of metaphysical insights to life that she gave me, or started me on this road, started to really snowball into something that was much more than what I had basically kept it in under very small wraps. And anyone involved in this, when you start out, it's very bizarre the different ways that people respond to the fact that you have these gifts. One of the first things you have to realize is that there's a very strong concept one has to understand, that if you have ever been involved with blueprints, or in the earlier days of television and radio, which I grew up, in the back, when you took the back cover off, there was a little diagram showing, we used to even have tubes in the back of our TVs, and a tube would go out and you'd look at the diagram. So what at basically one level is that the palm represents a kind of blueprint. Now, why would that exist? Well, we have a bicameral brain, all right, with two sides to the brain. Each one connects to the hand. And the way that this kind of line structure begins to form, even in the womb, is a sign of the amount of activity and the patterns that are going on in the development of that fetus. And as it moves on, so as at one level, the lines in the hand are in some way indicative of some kind of electrical blueprint that is being emitted by your brain. And this is why in some cases, they're rare, but there are some cases where people's lines on their hands have changed radically because of an experience they've had. And I've seen this. I've seen people's hands change radically. I've seen people's hands never change. They don't change. It's, you know, they're locked in a pattern. So at one level, the first level is I think that there is really a connection between the lines in the hand and mental and emotional patterns that are part of the DNA, part of the structure that we're born with. If you see young children, a lot of them seem to already have a pretty definite personality, and like it's kind of, you know, jumps right out at you. So I think that at one level, palmistry does reflect that. Now, the other thing to realize is that there are so many nerve endings in the hand, because think of all the things we do with our hands. We don't even think about this. Think how we, you know, now we're texting away, you know. There are a lot of different ways that we use the hands. Surgeons use their hands. We're always using it. We put our makeup on our hands. We comb our hair. So really, the hands become kind of an extension of the mind. And with all of these different electrical patterns, we get into the concept that emitted from the hand, there is a bioelectric field that can be read and interpreted by a variety of methods. In the palm itself, there is this chakra, and there's an emanation. So what I do is I use a thing like a pendulum, and I hold this pendulum over a person's palm, and by looking at the pendulum and the way it swings, I can tell a lot about the psychic energy in that person at that time. And this is very interesting because it enables you to work with palmistry on a more immediate level. Sometimes people come and say, hey, read my palm. You read it yesterday, but what about today? No, it probably hasn't changed much. But the biofields, the chakra energy, may well have changed. And you put that pendulum over that field and you say, wow, what happened to you? Oh, my girlfriend broke up with me, how did you know? And you say, well, you look at your heartland is emitting all this energy, and it's in a really reactionary field. That's right, my heart is broken. So the use of the pendulum, to me, really is an extension of how to get involved with this energy, this psychic energy. Okay, the first is the magnifying glass. You can't be a palmist without the magnifying glass, because that's the way you read the true lines, because the lines themselves tell you a lot. You know, the feathering, the chaining, the depth, the width, the curve or lack of curve, the breaks, the overlapping, double, sometimes you have a double heart line. Whoa, look at that. So these kinds of issues, you need that, and you also need this, the pointer. So at one level, you're like reading and pointing at this, and at other times you're like reading and say, oh, we better look at this with this, the pendulum. So this, and this is another pendulum. This is my party pendulum. It's the Ask Buddha, because this is a little Buddha, and say, well, we're going to ask Buddha about this as a kind of a little party gimmick, and they go, oh, okay, and so you hold it over like that. Now, this happens to be my Guru Sai Baba. I got this, even this little piece of plastic guru. I got that in Shirdi, India, and I went a long way to get that thing. And I went to Mumbai, and then I went 90 miles north of Mumbai, where we went from 3-way to 4-lane to 2-lane to 1-lane, and the 1-lane road was paved one way, and the other side was gravel. So everyone wants to like drive on the pave, right? oh my God, you know, everyone's fighting to be on the pave. So anyway, to get this, I had to go to great ends, and I have a lot of other Sai Baba stuff, but I carry this one with me all the time. This is Sai Baba, the Guru, and this is something I got at the Shirdi. Now this is Shiva, and Shiva is one of the three big Hindu gods, you know, and Rama, Vishnu, and Shiva. And Shiva is the destroyer. Shiva is like the 12th house in astrology. Shiva is the concept of death. Shiva is, you know, the one that liberates us from our old ways and opens us up to have new ways. Then Rama can come in and make a new way, then Vishnu come in and hold the way, and then this, you know, sooner or later it'll be changed, and comes Shiva again to change things. So I'm very involved with the concept that through death and rebirth, we grow.